B stands for Buckeyes, just in case that wasn't clear. You're listening to The Buckeye Show.
Coming up 1 hour away from right now at 7:30, the venerable Joshua Perry. He's going to join the program. We'll talk about a little Buckeye fall camp, a little Big Ten media days with him. As for now, though, we head out to the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest hotline. Check with our great friend of Lettermen Row. He is Mick Walker. Mick, thanks for the time. Always appreciate it. Before we jump into some Buckeye talk, like you're one of the best guys in the Ohio State beat following recruiting. We'll get to that in a second. But as much as you're into recruiting, you're even a bigger soccer guy. I mean, you can break down the X's and O's. What did you think of Wilfried Nancy's strategy after going 2-0 down for the Crew on Saturday down in Cincy?
Yeah, I mean, Pat and I talked about it all June at camp. Just my admiration for the game. You know, I just really appreciate what Wilfried Nancy does, the intensity he brings to the pitch every week and every game. So getting to see that in hell is real. It was a great win for the Crew.
That was a remarkable answer.
It really was, Mick. That's an A+. That's a great job out of you, because you even texted me today. You're like, hey, are we talking any soccer? I said, only if you want to. And you said, I think I'll leave that to you and Pat. What's been going on in the recruiting trail, Mick? I saw a little updated in the recruiting rankings, some guys shooting up the leaderboard for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, Rivals today, after following the merger with On3 earlier this month, we released the first On3 Rivals 300. Sorry, getting used to you changing the lingo for the rankings. But, yeah, Sam Greer, the four-star offensive tackle from Akron-Hoban, he jumped up in the rankings, number 14 overall. He's now the highest-ranked prospect in Ohio State's class, according to Rivals. And I've said it before, and I think I've said it on this program even. Sam's the best offensive tackle prospect to come out of Ohio since Paris Johnson. So to get him, to see that he's finally getting recognized after a couple injuries to start his high school career, awesome for him. Awesome to have Kari Wilder, the four-star defensive end from California, jump up as well. Obviously, that's been a point of contention, a position of contention for Ohio State fans this summer. So just to see the guy that they currently have committed while they chase some other guys get bumped up to top 50 kid, that's a big win for the Buckeyes as well.
Mick, I see Buckeye fans on various message boards, social media, complaining about this Ohio State recruiting class, which I think most have right around the top 5, if not in there. Why are people upset from what you see, and maybe why should or shouldn't they be?
I think it's a little bit of habits, and it's a little bit of just frustration with how NFL or the NIL game is kind of going. At this point, it's kind of become a habit. Ohio State misses out on their top edge targets when it comes to just NIL recruitment. This year it was Carter Meadows. In the past, it's been Dylan Stewart. We can go on and on about guys they've missed on an edge. So that's just a point of contention because they want to see it's been a minute since they've gotten the JT Tuimoloau out, and obviously him and Jack are now out of the program, so there's no 5-star caliber defensive ends in the program. You want to get one of those guys every few years to have a guy that you're building around on that pass rush. They don't have that now, so missing out on that for a few cycles is just frustrating. And then other than that, it's just I think a lot of people expected things to really change with the national championship, and in reality, all that does is for all the programs that didn't win a national championship, now they have to go to their boosters and their athletic director and say, hey, can we have some more money so we can do what Ohio State just did? And Ohio State's saying, well, we have to pay the players that just won the national championship. Like I'm standing here at Top Golf for the Trust Downs event with Caleb Downs and his brother Josh Downs, and they're over here hosting a golf event to feed the help with the homeless. But I imagine Caleb Downs is not coming to Ohio State for free this season. Like, he got compensated handsomely. So would you rather pay Caleb Downs or would you rather pay an edge prospect or a high school prospect? And that's just something Ohio State's had to balance. So the NIL dollars and just kind of the expectation after a national championship are kind of throwing people off. But overall, like you said, top 5 class, tons of talent in there. It's really nothing that people should be concerned about. It's just more picking nits at this point.
Mick, when we talk about, all these NIL deals, and I know KJ Ford was one over the weekend as well. That was a Buckeye target, and he ended up committing to Florida, I believe, off the top of my head. So you missed out on him, too. I kind of asked Berm this question last week, and I want to get your thoughts, because you're in this world. You're in the recruiting world, and, it's recruiting, and it can go any different ways, and that's why it's recruiting. Like, it's always been a little bit crazy. But let's just take, like, Luke Wafel. Pat and I were here talking about Luke Wafel a couple of weeks ago when he was down to Ohio State and USC. Looked like he was an Ohio State lock. Then USC brought however much money to the table. When it comes to these edge rushers, or maybe it comes to like an offensive tackle, right? I think those are two pretty high-valued positions right now in recruiting. Do you see it calming down at all as we get into the future, or is this kind of going to be the new way of the world with these outlandish payments, you think?
Yeah, so long as it's still somewhat unmitigated, it's probably going to just kind of be the lay of the world. Like you mentioned in the future, like obviously we now have the house settlement stuff, like the rev sharing model, like some of that stuff is becoming into effect, and we have the whole NIL go and deals having to be approved. And I think Austin and Burma both talked about that on their show and on 97.1 The Fan and all the different programs they're on. But like things are just not getting approved in ILY. So then schools like USC are still using collectives, and it's kind of throwing off things. So until you get to a point where it's collective bargaining or things are more standardized and more able to be upheld and just like enforced, it's still going to be kind of unmitigated. So that's why it takes guys like Sam Greer from in-state, or getting a guy like Ronaldo Perez out of Columbus Academy, who's a 2027 four-star edge, that's a top 50 kid. Like, getting those guys become all the more paramount, because if you can't get those guys out of state consistently, then you have to get the guys at home and kind of develop them a little bit better than you might be with a five-star guy out of state.
Let's talk positively. This 2026 class.
I mean, it's still a top 5 class.
Yeah. So let's talk positively about it. What should Buckeye fans like about this class? Maybe outside of some of the obvious.
Well, it's so funny to think about, because everybody loves Jeremiah Smith who's on campus. We love Carnell Tate, but at this point, like Pat said, you have the people that are on message boards on Twitter communities complaining, and it's complaining because they have 4 wide receivers, and they're probably going to get a 5th later this week when Braden Guilford, the 4-star out of Fort Wayne, commits again. So Ohio State's going, why are we taking five wide receivers when we still need an edge? And when in reality, when it comes to all this NIL stuff, you have 4-star wide receivers wanting to come to play for Brian Hartline for much less than even a 4-star edge will come and play for Larry Johnson. And that's not a knock on Larry Johnson. People just want to come and play for Brian Hartline. And so they're taking discounts, and so you're going to have 5 wide receivers, and 5 of them are pretty darn talented. Guilford could be one of them. You have Brock Boyd, who you slipped from TCU, Caden Dixon-Wyatt, who they beat out Oregon for in the spring, Chris Henry Jr., who is still probably, in my opinion, the best wide receiver prospect to come out of high school since Jeremiah Smith. He's just been hampered by injury, so he continues to slide down the rankings where others lift up. And then you look at that. If you move on from the wide receiver class and you look at the safety class, like, I don't think Blaine Bradford from Baton Rouge Catholic down there in Louisiana is coming to high school to Ohio State just for the love of the game. I think they took care of him as well on the NIL front, and that's why he's coming. So that's where some of your dollars get spent. Some of them go to Chris Henry Jr., the wide receiver, Sam Greer. Like, they're spending their money properly, and they're spending money on needs. Like, safety after losing Caleb Downs is a bigger need than losing your edge, because you can probably get Bo Atkinson back and maybe a Kenyatta Jackson back next year, but you can't replace Caleb Downs with another just haphazard safety. Not that Ohio State has haphazard safeties, but you need to go get some top-end talent. That's what they did in Blaine Bradford. And, again, that's what they did in wide receiver position with Chris Henry Jr.
He is Mick Walker of Lettermen Row with us here on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems Fan Guest Hotline. Mick, you've been following this team and recruiting for a long while now. Is there any guys, and I'm not trying to compare anybody in this freshman class to what Jeremiah Smith did last year. That was a shooting star, one-of-a-kind phenomenon event. But are there any guys you think that got onto campus either in the winter or going to come to campus here right now in the summer portion that you think could maybe push to be an instant impact guy for this year's team?
Yeah, I think the popular one right now in the summer, just because we've gotten to kind of see him walk around to camps and people start talking about him, is Jarquez Carter, the defensive tackle out of Florida. Obviously, everybody kind of remembers Mike Hall for that Michigan State game where he had a handful of sacks and had a handful of tackle for losses. He was living in the backfield. He's quick, got off the ball, used his hands well. That's a lot of what Jarquez Carter does, and Ohio State needs a 3rd defensive tackle, maybe a 4th defensive tackle to step up. I think Jarquez Carter could be that guy. Fahim Lane at safety. If you still have Malik Hartford, TJ McClain, or Jalen McClain kind of battling for that 2nd spot, can Fahim Lane step up and kind of maybe take some playing time? Can Riley Pettijohn work in there with Arvell Reese, or maybe Sonny Styles playing a little on the outside to get some pass rush? There's a handful of guys, especially on defense, that I really like. And obviously you have Tavian St. Clair, the 5-star quarterback, who's also here at Caleb Downs events to kind of support his teammates. And I think he's somebody that's going to look good in the future. And I'm hopeful to get a couple, 4th quarter touchdown passes from him so everybody can kind of see what he was doing at Bell Fountain and why he was the 5-star quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us about this event that you're at right now. Are you participating? How's your golf swing looking?
No, I am not participating. Apparently, Caleb and Josh Downs already played around at golf earlier today. I mean, you have a who's who. I am honestly surprised Josh Perry, who we said was coming on the show later, is not here. We have Cardell Jones. You have like I said, Josh Downs, Caleb Downs, Tavian St. Clair, Devin Sanchez. Yeah, Caleb's about to come up here with the driver, and I think he was already saying that he's a little bit better than his brother at golf, and Josh agreed at that. So it's a who's who. Mickey Marotti, Mark Pantoni, Matt Guerreri, just names upon names. Jordan Woods, another freshman corner that Ohio State's really high on. All the defensive backs have kind of Jalen McClain's here as well. I believe Malik Hartford's probably here or showing up soon. Everybody that you can kind of think of in this secondary, make sure to show up and support Caleb Downs as they try and raise some money for homelessness between him and his dad and his brother, just with the Trust Downs Foundation. Yeah,
it's fantastic. We'll let you go here in just a second, Mick. Is there anybody else who we should be watching out for on the recruiting trail for the Buckeyes in these coming weeks?
I mentioned Guilford coming up on Friday. That's July 18th is when he'll commit. Deron Parks is going to commit on the 26th of July. I believe it's next Saturday. He's somebody that Ohio State's recruited for a while. He's originally from Hurricane, West Virginia.
Great town name.
Cool to say. Now he's down in Hurricane Country in Florida and Sarasota. So he's But he's been a top target for a while. He's 6'5", 340, 360 pounds. He's a big man. He's going to have to slim down a little bit when he gets to college, but he's somebody Ohio State likes as kind of as a people-moving guard and a mauler in the trenches. Obviously, they'd bring off the 5 offensive line commitments and they get that one done on July 26th, which would be welcomed after only taking 3 last year. So Tyler Bowen's done a good job in this cycle, and he can kind of get another win and later this month as well.
Mick, always appreciate the time. Thanks for popping on, my friend. Have a fantastic time at the event and enjoy breaking down the Cruise win against Cincinnati a little bit later on, all right?
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. So our good friend, Mick Walker, Lettermen Row, here on the Bryant Heating and Cooling Systems fan guest.